Chapter 6, Murder and Suicide. When I had a telephone call from Douglas Sladen, an old friend whose books I enjoy, I guessed from his tone that he was diffident about coming to the point. After some humming and hawing he said, "Look, Estelle, I have just been talking to an editor. He asked if I thought you could do anything to help find this child." I knew at once whom he meant by this child. It was 1937, when the disappearance of 10-year-old Mona Tinsley had been making headline news for several days. The child had vanished from her home in Newark and the efforts of police throughout the country had failed to produce any trace of her. "I'm sorry, Douglas," I replied, "but you know my views. I'll do anything to help, but I can't be associated with something which might be condemned as a stunt as soon as the other papers get to hear of it." "I was afraid you'd say that, and you're right, of course. But there's another side to it besides sensationalism. Think of the child's parents, how they must feel, waiting, wondering, not knowing whether the child is alive or dead. You could help them, Estelle, if only to end the dreadful uncertainty." Douglas had always known how to play on my emotions and he was not hesitating to do so now. He knew perfectly well that I could not stand up to argument of the kind. "All right," I agreed at last. "I'll do what I can, but don't let them turn it into headlines news." "You can rely on me," he said and rang off. I had received many tempting offers to utilize my powers of clairvoyance for material purposes but had invariably turned them down. To have accepted would have been to lay myself open to charges of sensationalism and of cheapening spiritualism and all that it stands for. But the present instance was somewhat different. In the case of Mona Tinsley, there were the parents to consider and the agony of mind through which they were passing. If I could help them in their hour of trial, I felt I must do so, even at the sacrifice of my principles.